So for today's video, I am actually going to be showing you how I remove my nails. And for those of you that don't know, I do my nails with hard builder gel. So this is how you remove hard builder gel or anything that can't be soaked off. So hard gel, or some polygels can't be soaked off, some can. But anyhow, as you can see, these nails are grown out and they're all beat up and kind of crusty looking. They've been on for like 4 weeks now, a little over 4 weeks. So this is how my nails usually hold up. I do usually have my nails on for like a month or so. You can see the little silver pearls that I had. The silver coating came off. I know when I uploaded the video, I told you guys that a couple of the pearls, like the coating, had come off. And in that video, it was only like 3 of them on this hand, and now it's like almost every single one on both hands that has come off. So I didn't do a very good job top coating them, I guess, or because they've been on for so long, maybe it just kind of, you know, wear and tear, chipped off. So this is why you top coat those little silver pearls, or even just the regular white pearls, because the coating does come off. And for these silver ones, you can see it's this ugly like green gray color underneath here. With the white pearls, it's still white. When the coating comes off, you just don't have that pearl finish on it. Also, I top coated all of the charms, and I don't know if you can see this little snake. I thought it was plastic, but apparently it's not, because you can see it did tarnish in some areas. So that was kind of surprising to me, because I thought these were plastic. The little, what are these? Safety pins, you can kind of see here. They also tarnished in some spots. And then the skulls here did not change at all. These were the ones, I also thought these were plastic as well. These were the ones that I was expecting to change, the little skulls, but they didn't change at all. There's still that pretty silver color, but the safety pins and the snakes changed, and I was not expecting that. And then you can see I am missing a couple little beads off of my nails. I actually ended up picking those off. They didn't fall off on their own. That was from me messing around with them and like picking at them and stuff. So the rhinestone glue that I used for these held on to everything really well. So I think it was the Enhancements Couture one, the gummy jelly or whatever. So if you're looking for a rhinestone glue that holds on to your charms really well, I recommend that one, as long as you don't pull them off on your own. Also, this middle nail here, I don't know if you can tell. First of all, it's really crusty because I am really bad at putting on cuticle oil, so ignore that. But right here, I don't know if you can tell, but it is lifted because I whacked it really hard yesterday. So it did cause some pretty bad lifting, if you can see here. Maybe if I go like that, you can kind of see, yeah. So there is some pretty bad lifting on that one that I'm gonna have to take care of, but the rest of them, there's really no lifting. Yeah, there might be a little bit on this one. There is a little bit on this one. Both my middle nails, that's weird. Usually it's my pointers, especially my right pointer. If I'm gonna get lifting, that's where I get lifting at. But anyhow, so I'm gonna go ahead, remove these because it's time to remove them. Like I said, they've been on for a little over 4 weeks. And the only reason why I remove my nails every single time I do my nails is because I do need to take them off so I can, whenever I film my other videos, I can do like the finishing shots of the nails that I do in those videos. Otherwise, I would just do a fill, you know, file down the length a little bit, clean up the shape, fill in, and then do whatever my next design is or whatever, unless I was changing the base. Usually I do clear for my base. This one I did a like orangey pinky nude color for the base. But yeah, for the most part, like if I didn't take them off every time, I would just do a fill. But I do take them off for video filming purposes every single time that I do them. So like I said, I'm going to show you how to remove nails that cannot be, you use enhancements that cannot be soaked off. So like I said, hard gel cannot be soaked off, and some polygels cannot be soaked off. There are some polygels that can, and then there's some polygels that cannot. So I don't know which brands can't and cannot. That's something you'd have to like test out or something. But anyhow, I just start by clipping off the length, and I go right above my natural nail. That way I'm not cutting my natural nail and potentially causing it to like split and like split up into the nail bed area. Also, I don't know if you can tell or not, but oh my gosh, I am a little congested. I'm getting over being sick again. You know, I was sick, it's April right now. I was sick in March, and then a couple weeks later, got sick again. Fun times. So yeah, I do sound kind of congested right now. I don't know if you can tell that or not, but I definitely can. And as you can see, like when I'm clipping them off, they're kind of just breaking all the way across. Sometimes, oh gosh, sometimes you do have to clip on both sides. So like do a little clip over here and then clip over here, because sometimes it's a pain in the butt. But right now they're all doing pretty well and coming off completely with just one clip. Oh, except for this one. I do have to do a second. Okay, and then those are gonna go in my nail graveyard where I keep all of my clippings and press-ons that I do. I'm just gonna set those to the side for now though. And then for any charms or rhinestones that are left on the nails, which is just this one, pull that off. And then these ones, I just take these old cuticle nippers that I have that are dull, so they don't really work for cuticle cutting, but they work really well for getting charms and rhinestones and stuff off the nails. That was easy. Sometimes charms and stuff want to hang on to the nails really well and don't want to come off. Sometimes, honestly, I could probably, so sometimes with your charms, you may be able to save them. Now, obviously, if you're doing other people's nails, I would not recommend saving your charms, but if you are just doing your own nails and you're only going to be using these on yourself, you know, depending on how they come off of your nail, you might actually be able to save them and reuse them. These ones I honestly could, because they, like I said, they didn't change colors, so they're not going to look funky if I put them on a new nail. And then they held up really well. They're not bent out of shape or anything. This one here does have a little bit of glue here in the eyes, so I would just have to like file that down a little bit to get that off. There's a bug flying in my face. And then this one doesn't have any glue on it, so I could save these, and I might, because I don't have very many of these charms, so might as well just save those. Then I can use them for another set. Okay, so I got my dust collector out, and my e-file is over here off to the side. It's right here. They both are from a cart, but I don't think Macart makes either one of these anymore. So can't really, you know, give you the information on that or link them down below. I will also say that I think this dust collector is on its way out. It doesn't really do its job very well anymore. I did just recently get a new dust collector, so I'll end up using that soon, once this one completely gives out on me. But I've had both of these, this e-file and this dust collector, for several years now, and they've worked really well. So yeah, I would assume that, you know, all of the Macart e-files and dust collectors work really well and hold up really well, but you know, these are the only ones that I have, so I can't really speak on the rest of them. But anyhow, when I remove my nails, I'm going to use this bit here. It's like this ceramic cone bit. I do prefer using ceramic bits whenever I'm removing my nails or my enhancements or whatever. The blue ring here, the rings on your e-file bits, that tells you like the coarseness of them. So you have your fine grit, your medium grit, your coarse grit, extra coarse, extra fine. I know black is extra coarse. I think yellow is extra fine. Red is fine. Blue is coarse. I could be wrong on the yellow and the red. I know blue is coarse though, and black is extra coarse. So that's a little fun fact there. But anyhow, I'm going to file these down, and I do have a thin layer of clear builder gel under here because I always keep a thin layer of builder gel on my nails, since I do remove my nails not super frequently, but somewhat frequently. Like, I remove them every time I do them, and most people don't do that, but it's just to help protect my natural nails. It also allows me to know, like, you know, when to stop filing whenever I am removing them. And the reason why I go with clear instead of doing like a nude color for that protective layer is so that way when I do remove these nails, I'm able to see my natural nail underneath of there, and I can look at it and see if, you know, with a lifted nail like this, if I ended up getting a greenie, or if there's like, you know, if I smashed my nail in my finger in a door or something, I could see like the bruising that would be under there. If there's any bruising or anything like that, or, you know, something weird or funky happens underneath the nail, then I can actually like see it. Whereas if I did have a nude, if the nude is sheer enough, you would be able to, you know, see through it and see that there's something under there. Also, if you filed it thin enough, you should be able to see through. But I just like to do clear to make sure that I can fully see and I'm not like trying to guess or anything like that. So that's why I always keep clear on my natural nails, and I keep that clear layer even if I do like a nude kind of base for like the actual extension part or whatever. So I am going to go ahead and file all of these down. You can see they're super thick right now because that is, you know, the height of the apex, so they are pretty thick here. And I'm just going to file them down to that clear layer, and if there is any lifting like there is on this middle finger here, I am going to remove all of that off the nail. If you do have any lifting, you do want to make sure that you completely remove it before putting anything on top. If you are putting anything on top, or even if you're just removing, you do want to make sure that all the lifting is off. And the way you can tell if there is any lifting is you can see like it's kind of white right there. Well, hold on. Okay, there. You can see that it is kind of white right there because it's detached, so it's not like, you know, sitting flush on your natural nail anymore. Like if you look here at this one next to it, it's all the same color. It doesn't look kind of white like it does here. So that's how you can tell if you have lifting. You could have lifting depending on, you know, how you prepped or whatever, or, you know, if you smashed your finger and something. Like lifting could happen anywhere on the nail, so it could happen, you know, up where like your cuticle area, where this used to be up here in your cuticle area. You could have lifting down here in the middle, on the sides, at the free edge. So if you do have any kind of lifting, you do want to make sure that you are removing it no matter where it's at, because if you were to put anything on top of it, that could end up causing some problems later on. Also, if you're not putting anything on top of it and you're just removing them to remove them, again, that could end up causing problems. You're gonna get moisture under there, you're gonna get a greenie, all of that. Don't want to do all that. So make sure you are removing any lifting if there is any lifting. I'm gonna go ahead and turn everything on. It's gonna be noisy. I don't know if I'm gonna keep the sound in because it's loud and annoying. I might just put like background music or whatever so you don't have to hear the whatever, the dust collector and the e-file going, because it is loud and annoying. But I will just let it play out, and yeah. Also, real quick, let me say, before I turn my dust collector on, I do turn my e-file up to 25 RPM. I'm just comfortable with going that fast. If you are not comfortable going that fast, do not go that fast, because you are going to end up hurting yourself some way. Just go the speed that you feel the most comfortable at. I would recommend, personally, to go 15 or higher, just because it's going to be more effective and you're going to get through the thick gel or acrylic or whatever you're removing a lot quicker and easier. But like I said, go at the speed that you are the most comfortable with. That way you're not hurting yourself. Okay, real quick, I just want to show you. Dust that off a little bit. I removed the gel polish that was left over, as well as this base gel color that I had. It'll focus. So all that's left is the clear builder gel that I have, that protective layer. And this is where I'm going to stop with my e-file. I'm not going to do any more here. I actually might do a little bit more on the free edge, because it is still a little bit thicker, because it does have the leftover nail tip that I used. So like the plastic from the nail tip and the gel, my rubber base that I used to glue it down. So I might take that down just a little bit more. Actually, I'm not going to, because I'm going to end up shortening these anyhow. I will file them shorter later, so it's not going to matter. I am just going to stop here with this. So this is what it looks like, and I should have explained how I do this before. I don't know why I just rubbed my hand in there. That was smart. I should have explained this beforehand, but hopefully with watching what I'm doing, you can see and like get an idea of how I go about removing the nails. So I will go around this part here first to get that done and out of the way, and then I'll do all the rest of it. I will go this way, and then I go down. I will say, and I have mentioned this before on my channel, if you've been watching for a while, if this is your first video that you are seeing of mine, hey, I did go to cosmetology school like 10 years ago, and I learned hair, skin, and nails. So I do, you know, have a background in that and whatever. I will say though, when it came to the nail portion of my program, we only spent 8 days total doing nail stuff, and we never once got to work on another actual human. So there wasn't really a whole lot that we covered with that, like very basics on how to do a very basic manicure, and how to apply acrylic. That was basically it. We didn't learn how to use an e-file. Like they had e-files and they put them out, and it was basically you figure it out on your own. And like I said, we weren't working on actual humans, so I mean, if you wanted to apply some acrylic on yourself and then like try to use the e-file or whatever, you could do that, or you could use the little mannequin finger that we had and do that. But yeah, we didn't really touch much on nails at all, and like didn't really go too in depth on what to do and like proper e-file usage either. So I've had to basically teach myself how to use an e-file and like watch videos from other nail techs and do a whole bunch of research on my own on you know, how to do stuff. So I will say I don't necessarily do things, you know, how they would teach you if you went to school to become an actual nail tech, and not just, you know, go to school to learn everything, you know, when you go to school for a specific thing. So I know with the e-file, it does have the forward option, and then it has the reverse option or setting or whatever on it. I only ever use it in the forward. The way that I have taught myself how to use the e-file, I never put it in reverse. I'm pretty sure it's like when you're going towards yourself, if I'm remembering this correctly. If you go towards yourself, you're supposed to have it in the forward setting, but if you go away from yourself, then you put it in the reverse setting. But then if you're like doing someone else's nails and they're this way, you're not gonna, well, I mean, you are gonna go towards yourself, but like if you go this way, then you go forward. If you go this way, you go in reverse. And then I think if you use, that's if you're using your right hand, and then if you're left-handed, it's like the opposite way or whatever. I don't know. But I will say, I have only ever, like, the way I taught myself how to use the e-file, and the way I hold it, and the way I move it and everything, it's always in forward, because if I've tried doing it, like, in reverse and doing it the other way, and it feels so uncomfortable, and it doesn't work, and I just feel like the e-file is going all over, and, like, I've cut myself pretty badly, like, doing it like that. Even with when I remove here off of my right hand with my left hand, it stays in reverse, and, like, the way that I'm doing it or not in reverse, in forward, it just works better for me to have it in forward. So yeah, when it comes to, like, the whole forward reverse thing with the e-file, I don't really know any of that, and I don't really understand it either. So yeah, don't ask me about that. But anyhow, I'm just gonna go ahead and finish removing the rest of this hand. Like I said, I am going to leave this how it is, since I just got down to the clear layer. And yeah. Okay, so here we are. It's all removed. Also, when you're using a ceramic bit or I don't know if you could hear that, but I just smushed the bug on that's been flying around my face this whole video on something. Anyhow, if you use the ceramic bit or one of these bits, carbide I think is the name for it, you don't want to touch those on your natural nails because that can cause damage. Also, when you're e-filing or even just filing with a hand file, you don't want to stay in one spot too long. I kind of did that right there if you can't see. I hit my natural nail and I held it in spot for too long. That wasn't my bad. You don't want to do that because, as you can see, that red spot right there is what we call a ring of fire. And that's just basically where you filed your natural nail too far down and now it's like super thin and a little bit tender, which is not fun. Yeah, that was an oopsie. I was trying to get that lifting that was there. And I was not paying very much attention and did that. So we want to try to avoid that and keep it so, you know, keep your file moving, whether you're using an e-file or a hand file, because you can get rings of fire with a hand file. It's kind of a little bit harder to get it with that, but it is possible. Trust me, I've done it before. So I know they look kind of jagged and rough. I'm gonna leave them like that because I am going to film my next video that I'm filming right after this is going to be like prep and applying my protective layer, but so I'm gonna fix all that in that video. But if you were just removing your enhancements or whatever, whether you have, you know, your protective layer or not, you don't want to file all the way down to the natural nail because you are going to run the risk of potentially damaging the natural nail. So you do want to keep a very thin layer of whatever you have on the nail on. That way you're not potentially damaging it. And like I said, hard gel cannot be soaked off, so if you're just leaving, like taking it off and not putting anything on top, you just leave that super thin layer of your hard gel on, and then as it grows out, you know, you'll clip your nails or file them down or whatever, and as it grows out, it will come off the nail that way. But if you are removing to remove and you're not going to be applying anything else on top, I would take a hand file, like a 180 grit file, and I would use that and just kind of go over them to kind of smooth it out, because you can see, especially here on the middle, that it's kind of rigid and lumpy. Like I said, I am going to fix all that, and I am going to deal with that in my next video. So I'm not going to deal with that here, but actually I am going to do that now. It doesn't make sense to wait. Okay, so I'm going to take this 180 grit file. I'm actually going to use the 180 side. The 180 side is going to be the smoother side, and then the 100 side is going to be the rougher side. The bigger the number, the smoother it is. The smaller the number, the rougher it is, or the coarser it is. So because I am going to be going over like, and I could potentially accidentally like get on my natural nail, I am going to just go ahead and do the 180 side because I don't want to do too much. I'm not going to turn on this dust collector, but I am just going to kind of go over top here, kind of smooth it out a little bit, make it a little nicer, a little more blended here. It's pretty well blended, because it was already well blended from when I applied like at the cuticle. It's just like on that middle nail, but I am just going to go ahead, file these. If you want to, you could file down the length if you aren't happy, like if you need your nails to be shorter or whatever, or you could take your nail clippers and clip them down, file the free edge or whatever. Where's my... I am actually going to clip these down. Sometimes I clip them, sometimes I file them. It kind of just depends on how long they are. And right now they're kind of long, and I don't want to file that much down. Also, I would recommend getting some straight edge nail clippers instead of these curved ones, but I've had these for a while. They're the ones that I have. So I'm just going to use them. And see, because the hard gel is so thin, keeps going out of focus, it's not hard to cut through it. If it is difficult, you might need to file it down a bit. That way you can clip through it. I take my natural nails down pretty much as short as I can get them without, you know, cutting into my hyponychium underneath there. Okay, so now I'm just going to file the free edge here a little bit just to smooth that out so it's not all jagged or whatever. And just go through and file the surface of the rest of these. I'm using the wrong side. And I'm just mainly trying to focus it on where the hard gel is left and not on my regrowth area where my natural nail is, because I don't want to over file that. Since I am going to be applying new product on top, I don't want to over file my natural nails, so I'm just trying to leave that part alone. So when I do go in to prep my nails, like, you know, that's all that's getting done to them, and it's not like all that extra filing on them. That one went a little too short. I did get into my hyponychium there a little bit. The hyponychium, for those that don't know, is the skin that is under the nails that keeps your nail, that like attaches your nail to your finger nail bed. And yeah, if you cut into that, it is not very pleasant. That's why I try not to go too short, because it doesn't feel good when you do that. Also trying to avoid that area on this nail that I got the Ring of Fire on, so I don't want to make that any worse. It's been a minute since I've had a Ring of Fire. And this isn't even that bad of one either, but obviously it'd be better if there wasn't even one there. And then once you're done filing them, you can go in with a buffer and smooth it out even more. Blend, you know, the leftover gel in your natural nail a little more. But I'm not going to use the buffer because, like I said, I am going to be putting more product on top, and I don't want all of this to be like super smooth and have any problems with it adhering, although it really shouldn't on the gel that's left over, because gel does tend to stick to gel. But also I don't want to run the risk of potential lifting or anything, because the next set that I am about to do is for an event that I'm going to. I'm not, by the time you see this video, I will have already gone. So I am going to Coachella, and I'm going weekend 2. Going with my mom and my sisters. I'm going to see Justin. My sisters love Sabrina Carpenter. I talked about it back in like November, December or something, how I took them to California to go see Sabrina for her very last show on the Short and Sweet tour. Anyhow, so they're going for Sabrina, I'm going for Justin. But yeah, we're going to Coachella, so that's the next set I'm doing, is my Coachella nails. That's actually why I'm doing the updated videos for like my removal and prep and all of that, because I do not have time to film a bunch of nail art videos for the next month. So anyhow, that's what these look like, all filed. Like I said, if you are just leaving them off like this, you can go in with your buffer and buff it out, smooth it out some more. But like I said, I'm going in with more stuff, so I'm leaving them like this, all crusty and dusty. I'll remove some of the dust a little bit here so you can kind of see. Hopefully they do look a mess. If I was just leaving them like this, I would put a little more effort into them to make them look a little better, but there's no need for that. So that's how you remove anything that has to be filed off. If you have polygel, that can be soaked off, or acrylic that can be soaked off, you can go ahead and soak them off at this point and remove the remaining product that is left. But if you have hard gel like I do, or even soft gel can be soaked off as well. But if you have hard gel or a poly gel that cannot be soaked off, then I'll just leave it like this and, you know, let it grow out, or put new product on, or whatever you're doing, you know. I am going to do this hand off camera though, because this video is 55 minutes long. It might be a little shorter. I might speed it up when I'm like filing the stuff off and not talking. So who knows, but that probably won't cut it down super short. But that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. And I hope you enjoyed it. I don't know why I forgot, like, I had a brain fart there for a second and forgot how I usually end my videos. That was weird. But yeah, look out for the next video where I show you how I do my prep and apply my protective layer, base layer on these nails. Okay, I'll see you guys in the next one.